It's your weekly Epic Epoch update. This week, something slightly different. I actually managed to publish 5 articles instead of 4. To tell you the truth, I could post multiple articles every single day because I write a lot and I always have, I don't know, maybe 20 articles just sitting on a file in my computer waiting to be published. And I'm constantly writing more, but you have to consider how many articles a person's willing to read or able to read. So, one that I just published at the last minute, I just stuck it into the week's roster because it seemed to be relevant, is about this whole Indiana RFRA, right? The Act Protecting Religious Freedom, which, of course, got manipulated and obscured by reference to LGBT rights. Okay, so forget what the act actually is, forget what the act actually says. Just go on a binge of calling anybody who supports it, throw in your favorite childish taunting name, your favorite expletive, your favorite 4-letter word, and don't forget to threaten people's lives, threaten to arson their business, threaten to bomb their city, the kind of thing that we've grown accustomed to in this era of tolerance and diversity. But actually, it was in the form of a challenge, this article. And the challenge was, okay, you want to condemn Indiana and that business, the pizza establishment. Well, what about what happened in New Mexico some years ago, where a homosexual cosmetologist refused to cut the governor's hair because of her political stance on same-sex marriage? That's right. You didn't hear about it. Nobody knows about it. He got away with it. No one threatened his life. Nobody threatened to boycott his business. Nothing. Nothing happened because the governor did something absolutely radical. She actually merely went elsewhere. Imagine that. Wow. Imagine that. But so my challenge was very simple. If you really have an issue with that kind of a law and that it discriminates against people and that you can't refuse somebody business, then you have to condemn this homosexual cosmetologist. And if you do not accept that challenge, then you don't have the right to keep on ranting against supporters of the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. So there's one article. Another one was about the history of the Catholic claim that Mary was assumed into heaven. And it's just that. It's strictly information. It's strictly quotations and citations and dates. It's strictly a review of what exactly are our sources for the claim that she was assumed into heaven. Because I was having a very, very long ongoing debate with a Catholic, and this was part of it, and he claimed that the Catholic Church has believed in Mary's Assumption since the very day it happened. And well, as I asked for evidence and he provided it, you don't have anywhere near any reference to it within the first few centuries. It's not like well into the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th century that you start getting anybody talking about it. So this was just a review about give you a chronology on it. And go check it out. I made up an image of the Assumption of Jimmy Hoffa. And you'll see why when you read the article. Another article was about the very odd state of affairs in which we find ourselves as a country when we realize that our president, not just Barack Obama, but previous presidents as well, especially George Bush Jr., W. The president in their administration had put themselves into the position of determining who is and who is not of a certain religious faith. I mean, that is fascinating when you think about it, especially when you think about how many online arguments are about attempting to determine who does and does not have the authoritative right to speak on a certain subject, right? Well, who are you to question Richard Dawkins on evolution? He's a biologist. He's a professor of biology, and you're not. But then all of a sudden, when it comes to religious faith, we feel perfectly at ease having a political hack tell us who is and is not of a certain religious faith. I mean, we just had Muslim terrorists go to a college, separate Christians from Muslims, and only murder the Christians. And we're supposed to believe, no, they're not Muslim at all. Not in the least bit. No. Well, that is just fascinating that our president has become the Theologian-In-Chief. Right? The Potus Maximus. Just think about that for a moment. Regardless of whether you support or oppose Obama, think about that. The political leader, the president of the United States, is determining whose theology is accurate and whose is not, and whose is in keeping with their principles and whose is not. It's quite astonishing. The other two articles I published were actually quite a lot of fun to deal with because they're both reviews. One of them is a review of a DVD by Stan Deyo, and he claims that he has found the Garden of Eden. So this is a DVD of his lecture, wherein he provides, of course, quite a bit of backing to his claim from various angles, from scripture to science to astrology. I mean, make that astronomy. And, it contains illustrations, PowerPoint slides, all this kind of stuff. So that was very interesting. I'm not going to give it away, and I don't give away the location within the review either, but check it out. It's kind of been very interesting to see what kind of information he presents and also some of the points I bring up in my review. And the other article was actually a review of the script that has been published as a book for the next Matrix movie, Matrix 4, which is about evolution and cracking the genetic code. So this was written by Sophia Stewart, and if you don't recognize that name, she is actually the person who within the Matrix story is portrayed as the Oracle. Okay, the Oracle is based on Sophia Stewart, who wrote a book called The Third Eye, and which eventually came to be made into the Terminator franchise and the Matrix franchise. So that from one of her stories, we have gotten two of the biggest franchises in Hollywood history. And so now she has written the next step. And to tell you the truth, it's kind of difficult to figure out what to make of her because she does claim to be an actual oracle or a seer. And she uses a lot of biblical terminology, but she also uses a lot of evolutionary terminology, and she uses a lot of what is otherwise termed New Age terminology. So it's, when you run across all this terminology, you always have to keep in mind that it's the manner in which one defines these terms that gives them meaning. So you have to really kind of try to figure out what she means. Although I could tell you that she would say the meaning of the words is not as important as their vibration, because eventually everything breaks down to ones and zeros, and that's just how she views things. But for those on this side of the oracle, on this side, we have to deal with terminology and context to figure out what's going on. So overall, this new script, if it's ever made into a movie, will be very interesting. We finally get to find out a little more about who John Connor is. Now, if you're paying attention, you're thinking, wait a minute, Matrix movie? John Connor is from the Terminator series. Yes, that's the point. You get to find out a little more about who Neo is, the man with no name, really. His name is just Neo. So what is that? He's the one. So, in fact, the Terminator robots, the cyborgs, make an appearance in this Matrix script. So it's really, it was fun reading it, part of it because I could kind of visualize what I knew about the series already, and a lot of new stuff and interesting stuff. So there's 5 articles from very different vantage points, and I hope you'll enjoy them. Of course, all the information will be in the info section. Check them out.